Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. Hope you're all doing great. Today we've got another wild TikTok drama to break down, and trust me, this one is something else. It seems like every few months, a familiar name resurfaces in the internet's hot seat, and this time, it's none other than TikTok's favorite wholesome but sometimes controversial couple, Matt and Abby. They've sparked yet another wave of debate, and whether you love them, hate them, or just find them oddly fascinating, you cannot deny that they know how to keep people talking. So what's the deal this time? Why is Matt suddenly sleeping in a closet for his mental health? Is this just another case of oversharing gone wrong? Or is there something deeper going on? Let's break it all down. Once again, TikTok couple Matt and Abby have found themselves at the center of controversy. Honestly, I think they're just stirring the pot at this point. Everything they post feels carefully calculated. They know exactly what they're doing. But this time, Matt is making headlines for claiming that he's been sleeping in a closet for the sake of his mental health. Naturally, this has become the latest hot topic of discussion. People are digging up past controversies about them, and we're going to break it all down. It seems like every few months, this couple goes viral for something over the top, leaving people wondering whether they're doing it all on purpose. Are they intentionally provoking outrage? Or does Matt just have a habit of saying things that set the internet ablaze? What exactly did he say this time? Let's dive in. Who are Matt and Abby, and why does it feel like they're constantly at the center of TikTok drama? For those who have somehow avoided their videos on the For You page, Matt and Abby are a wholesome Christian TikTok couple with millions of followers. They built their platform around being a fun-loving, family-friendly duo. They're also parents, but they've made a point to keep their kids off camera, focusing mostly on their own relationship. At first, people found them cute, relatable, and head over heels in love. But over time, their dynamic started to shift. The more they posted, the more people began to pick up on some interesting vibes between them, especially on their podcast, where they tend to overshare about their marriage. What once seemed like a beloved TikTok couple has slowly turned into an ongoing spectacle where viewers can't help but go from admiration to sheer disbelief at whatever wild thing Matt says next. And now, once again, they're making headlines because of yet another bizarre statement from Matt. Many people are convinced this is all part of a calculated strategy to go viral. Recently, Matt launched his own podcast without Abby, and in one of the promotional clips he posted, he casually mentioned that he has been sleeping in a closet for his mental health. His exact words? "This is kind of embarrassing, but I've been sleeping in my closet for the past month. I took the guest bed mattress and moved it in here. My wife isn't thrilled about it, I don't know a single wife who would be happy about a decision like this. But I had to do it for my mental health. I haven't been okay. I've been struggling. I feel awful. And this is just something I needed to do." That little confession set the internet on fire. Now, to be clear, no one is saying that sleeping separately from your spouse is weird. Plenty of couples do it for perfectly valid reasons. But it's the way Matt framed it, like sleeping in a closet was somehow the better option for his mental health than sleeping next to his wife. That raised eyebrows. Especially when Abby herself has openly said that she hates sleeping alone. In fact, Abby has shared before that she's always been the type of person who prefers sharing a bed. She grew up sleeping next to her siblings because she didn't like being alone. And even on trips, she was always the first to volunteer for bed sharing. So naturally, people are looking at this situation like, why is Matt putting his wife in this position? At this point, the responses have been rolling in. Many people agree that sleeping separately isn't a big deal, but making a huge show of choosing the closet instead of, say, the guest room feels unnecessary. Some are calling Matt a walking red flag. Others are just confused. Why would sleeping in a closet be better for your mental health than sleeping next to your wife? One commenter wrote. Another person added, why not just sleep in the guest room? This poor woman doesn't deserve this nonsense. People are frustrated, amused, and very much invested. In the full podcast episode, Matt actually explained that he suffered a concussion a few months ago, which led to sleep issues and terrible insomnia. He tried different methods to improve his rest but found that he wasn't being the best husband or father. Somehow, sleeping in a controlled environment, aka the closet, helped calm him down. He also mentioned that he has ADHD and this was simply the best solution for everything he was dealing with at the moment. He clarified that he doesn't plan on sleeping in the closet forever, but emphasized that, for now, it's what he needs to clear his mind. To be fair, the closet isn't the most practical spot, but it is dark and enclosed, which he says helps him feel more at ease. Sure, they could just black out the guest room, but apparently this setup works best for them right now. So, compared to how it was initially framed in those viral clips, the full explanation makes it sound slightly more reasonable. But let's be honest, Matt and Abby know what they're doing. It's clear that parts of his podcast were carefully selected and clipped in a way that would get people riled up and talking. And guess what? It worked. Now, the internet is once again tuning in, dissecting every detail, and, most importantly, giving their content even more attention. At this point, you have to wonder, is this just how they keep their brand alive? In the full podcast episode, Matt dove even deeper into the topic than anyone really needed. He provided an excessive amount of detail, almost as if he was overcompensating or trying too hard to justify why everything in their private life was supposedly great. And when I say excessive, I mean it. He even went as far as sharing specifics about what time of day they're intimate. Like, seriously? Who asked for that? Some things are just better left unsaid. But despite this unnecessary oversharing, his overall message seemed to be that he and Abby were doing just fine. However, as always, when it comes to Matt and Abby, the internet isn't just taking their word for it. People are analyzing every little thing they post, especially the carefully selected clips they release. And one tiny but significant detail immediately stood out to fans. Matt wasn't wearing his wedding ring. Now, let's be fair. Plenty of people don't wear their rings all the time. Maybe they forget, maybe it's uncomfortable, or maybe they just choose not to. But when it comes to Matt and Abby, things aren't that simple. Their entire brand is built on their marriage. Their audience follows them because they present themselves as this wholesome, Christian, family-oriented couple. They know exactly how people react to these small details, and let's be real, Matt has been in the social media game long enough to understand that the moment he posts a video about sleeping separately from his wife while also appearing without his wedding ring, people are going to speculate. It's practically an open invitation for rumors. And sure enough, the internet delivered. Within hours, comment sections were filled with questions. Are they getting a divorce? Are they having marriage problems? Is Matt low-key hinting at something? The theories spiraled out of control, as they always do. And honestly, at this point, it's hard not to feel like all of this is just another calculated move to stir up engagement. Because if there's one thing Matt and Abby have perfected, it's their ability to go viral. Whether it's for being adorable, awkward, or downright problematic. What's even wilder is the fact that they seem to thrive on being disliked. The general consensus online isn't even split. Most people aren't watching their content because they love them. They're watching because they can't look away. A huge portion of their audience seems to be people who are rooting for Abby to leave Matt, yet they continue posting clips that only fuel that narrative. And the craziest part? It works. Every single time, they manage to stir up controversy, and instead of harming their platform, it boosts their visibility. A lot of people feel like Matt, in particular, has a habit of publicly undermining Abby in ways that are subtle but noticeable. There's a certain energy to how he talks about her, sometimes dismissive, sometimes self-centered, sometimes just straight up inconsiderate. And the thing is, this isn't just a one-time issue. If you've been following them for a while, you know this is a pattern. Let's go down memory lane for a second. Remember the whole Father's Day drama? Matt actually went viral for complaining that his birthday was too close to Father's Day. And here's the kicker, last year, they even rescheduled the celebration to a completely different month just so he could have a special day all to himself. Now, imagine if the roles were reversed and Abby was the one making a big deal out of it. People would likely sympathize with her. But in this case, the internet's reaction was mostly pity for Abby. Why? Because Matt made it sound like her efforts weren't good enough. The previous year, when his birthday actually fell on Father's Day, Abby was pregnant. They had just returned from a trip, and despite all that, she still tried to make the day special for him. And yet, somehow, Matt found a way to make her feel guilty for not doing even more. People were quick to call him out, pointing out that plenty of people have birthdays on Christmas or other major holidays, and they just deal with it. But for some reason, Matt felt like he deserved extra accommodation. And that's not the only time he's made people uncomfortable with his attitude toward their relationship. Another moment that left everyone cringing was when Abby revealed that after she gave birth, Matt ignored her for 2 whole days. Why? Because he was too busy mourning his personal goals and struggling to accept that his life had changed. Let's put that into perspective for a second. His wife had just gone through the incredibly exhausting and life-changing process of giving birth, an experience that is physically, emotionally, and mentally draining. And instead of being present, supportive, and understanding, Matt was so caught up in his own feelings that he essentially checked out for 48 hours. It's these kinds of moments that make people question what's really going on behind the scenes. Again and again, they post content that leaves their audience confused, frustrated, or outright annoyed. Yet somehow it always plays in their favor. The real question is, are they truly this oblivious, or do they know exactly what they're doing? Because at this point, it almost feels like they want people to dislike them, as long as it keeps them trending. You know, I was actually really quiet on the first day after the baby was born. Yeah, I think looking back on it, I wouldn't say I was overly emotional the way you might expect, but in some way, I think that was my version of experiencing the baby blues. I still don't fully understand what that term technically means, but I do know that whatever I was feeling in that moment, it hit me hard. And I'll be honest, I don't think I'll ever fully understand the experience the way you do, just like you probably won't ever fully understand it from my perspective. But there was this moment of realization where it just hit me. My entire life had just changed in an instant. And for a little while, I couldn't shake this overwhelming feeling of, oh my God, all of my career goals, all of my dreams, everything I've worked for, it's all on pause now. And yeah, I felt frustrated. I can admit that. So I shut down. I went quiet. I didn't say a word. And at the time, I thought I was doing the right thing. I didn't want to bring it up because I didn't want to upset you. But what I didn't realize was that by not saying anything, I ended up hurting you even more. You felt abandoned. And looking back, I get why. Because you were going through so much at that moment, and the one person who was supposed to be there for you, me, just wasn't. I wasn't meeting you where you needed me to be emotionally, and that caused a rift between us. And to make it even harder, there was the fact that you were physically recovering, you were exhausted, you were adjusting to the reality of having a newborn completely dependent on you. And I knew you wanted to breastfeed, which meant that even though formula was an option, it wasn't something you wanted to do. So in my mind, I was watching you fully commit to this new chapter as a mother, while I was sitting there wrestling with the fact that I felt trapped. Like I had all these big dreams and aspirations, and suddenly, they were just put on hold indefinitely. And yeah, I got angry. And of course, the internet had a lot to say about it. People were basically like, "Sir, your wife literally just gave birth, and you're ignoring her because you're upset about your life goals?" And I get it. From the outside, that sounds awful. But in the moment, I wasn't thinking about how it looked. I was just overwhelmed and struggling to process everything. But yeah, I totally get why people were upset with me. I should have been there for you in every way, and instead, I was stuck in my own head. And if that wasn't bad enough, then there was the whole podcast situation. The fact that I went on the podcast and openly talked about how intimacy with you felt different after giving birth. Yeah, probably not my finest moment. Because let's be real, who actually needs to hear that? No one. But there I was, casually talking about how it didn't feel the same down there after childbirth, as if that was something that needed to be discussed in public. And I know we talked about it just the other day, and you told me you were kind of shocked when you first heard me say that, because it wasn't something I had ever brought up to you personally until after the podcast. Which, yeah, makes it even worse. Because all this time, you thought everything was just back to normal, and suddenly, I dropped this on you in public rather than in a private conversation. And I mean, I probably shouldn't get into too much detail here, but let's just say, it's different, but it's not like it's bad or anything. I still love it, obviously, and I know you do too, but the way I phrased it, yeah, I can see how that came off in the worst possible way. And of course, once again, people felt bad for you. But at the same time, there was this underlying conversation happening where people were like, wait a second, Abby is the one posting these clips. If she was really that embarrassed or upset by it, wouldn't she just cut those parts out? Like, no one is forcing these moments to be made public. If anything, we're actively choosing to put them out there, knowing full well how people are going to react. So then the question becomes, Is this all intentional? Are we purposefully stirring up controversy to keep the engagement rolling? Or does Matt genuinely just not realize how he sounds sometimes? Because honestly, a lot of people believe we're deliberately picking out the most problematic snippets of our podcast to post online, almost like we're baiting the internet into outrage just to boost our numbers. And let's be real, would it even be surprising at this point? Every single time there's backlash, our views skyrocket. But at what cost? Because right now, people are really starting to ask that question. Is the money, the attention, the engagement really worth it? If it comes at the expense of making it look like Matt is embarrassing Abby online, is it still a win? And how much of this is even real at this point? How much of it is just Matt making Abby look bad for the sake of content? And to be clear, I'm not saying every couple on social media has to be fake and present this picture-perfect version of their lives. But there's a difference between being authentic and just constantly giving people more and more reasons to feel bad for your wife. At this point, the internet is completely divided over Matt and Abby. Some people genuinely think they're just a sweet, honest couple being real about the ups and downs of marriage. But others? They're convinced Matt is straight up humiliating Abby for profit. But regardless of where you stand on the debate, there's one thing that's undeniable: Matt and Abby, they always find a way to go viral. And usually, it's because of controversy. So I have to ask, what do you guys think? Because once again, they're trending for another clip that people feel was deliberately designed to spark outrage. Do you think this is all just one big strategy? Or is Matt really this oblivious to how he comes across? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm genuinely curious. At the end of the day, whether you see Matt and Abby as a couple just keeping it real or as content creators deliberately stirring up controversy, one thing is clear: they know how to keep people talking. The internet is completely split on them, and with every new viral moment, the debate only gets bigger. But what do you think? Are they just navigating the ups and downs of marriage in the public eye? Or is there something more calculated happening here? Let's keep the conversation going. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear where you stand on all of this. And of course, if you enjoyed today's discussion and want to see more deep dives into the internet's hottest topics, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update. Your support helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.